All right, today we're going to take a journey, a trip back in time, more than 2,000 years, to explore one of ancient India's most powerful dynasties ever, the Mauryan Empire. Now, this isn't just a story of kings and battles. No, it's a story of how an empire was built from the ground up, how it was run, and how it was completely changed by a radical new idea. But how in the world do you tell the story of an empire that vanished thousands of years ago? I mean, you can't just Google it, right? You have to become a kind of detective, piecing it all together from the clues they left behind. And that is exactly what we're going to do today. So, to really understand the Mauryans, we're putting on our detective hats. We're going to rebuild their story using some incredible clues: a super cunning political playbook, a diary from a foreign ambassador, an emperor's personal messages carved into solid rock, and a stunning piece of architecture that still stands today. Okay, so our story kicks off way back in the 4th century BC. There's this incredible leader named Chandragupta Maurya. He pretty much comes out of nowhere, overthrows a powerful dynasty, and then goes on to build the very first great pan-Indian empire. For the first time ever, a huge, diverse part of the subcontinent is united under one rule. But that brings us right to the big burning question, doesn't it? How can we possibly know the details of what happened 2,300 years ago? Well, the answer is in the amazing evidence they left behind, and together, we're going to see just what it tells us. Our first piece of evidence is basically a masterclass in how to run a country in the ancient world. It's not a history book. Think of it more like a playbook, a how-to guide for building and running an empire. It's called the Arthashastra. The Arthashastra is really the ultimate guide to being a king in ancient India. And get this, it was written by Kautilya, the brilliant, cunning prime minister to Chandragupta himself. This gives us an incredible insider's view. This isn't just theory, it's the actual strategic thinking that built the Mauryan Empire. And when you dive into the Arthashastra, you find this surprisingly modern and highly organized system. We see a central government run by the king, sure, but then there are provinces ruled by princes, and a whole administration that goes right down to the local level. It even lays out a complex tax system, and, this is fascinating, a massive network of spies to keep everything under control. Okay, so we've got the insider's playbook. But what did this empire actually look like to an outsider, to someone seeing it for the first time? For that, we turn to our next source, the eyewitness account of a Greek ambassador who was living right in the heart of the Mauryan court. So this ambassador's name was Megasthenes. He was sent by the Greek ruler Seleucus Nicator to Chandragupta's capital city, Pataliputra. And while he was there, he wrote a book called the Indica, where he basically recorded everything he saw and heard. This gives us an absolutely priceless foreign perspective on Mauryan India. Megasthenes gives us these vivid descriptions of the emperor's life, how the capital city was run, and even his own unique take on Indian society. But there's a catch, a big one. The original Indica is lost. We only know what was in it because later Greek writers quoted from it in their own works, so we're left with these precious, fascinating fragments. Our third piece of evidence, well, it might be the most powerful of all. We've heard from the strategist and the ambassador, but now we get to hear directly from one of the greatest Mauryan emperors himself, Ashoka. These are the Edicts of Ashoka. They are official decrees that he had carved onto giant rocks and massive stone pillars all across his empire for everyone to see and read. They're literally the most direct, the best preserved records we have from this entire period of Indian history. Now, to understand these edicts, you have to understand one single event: the Kalinga War in 261 BC. Ashoka fought this absolutely horrific, bloody war to conquer the state of Kalinga. And he won. But the sheer scale of the death and destruction completely broke him. He was filled with remorse, and it was a turning point that would change him and his empire forever. This one event caused a massive shift in his entire philosophy. Ashoka completely abandoned the policy of Birigosha, which means conquest by war, and he adopted Dhammagosha, which means conquest by righteousness. He literally traded his sword for a moral code. So that leads to the big question, right? What exactly was this Dhamma that he embraced so completely? Was it some kind of new religion? Well, not exactly. As he describes it in his own edicts, Dhamma wasn't a religion. It was more like a moral law, a code of conduct for all of his people. It was built on really simple, universal principles: nonviolence, respect for your elders, tolerance for all religions, and this core belief that real happiness comes from doing good deeds, not just from empty rituals. Ashoka's huge transformation wasn't just about words carved on pillars. He became a great patron of Buddhism. And this brings us to our final piece of evidence, a magnificent structure that really embodies his newfound faith: the Great Stupa at Sanchi. So what is a stupa? It's a sacred structure in Buddhism. It's this solid, dome-like building that often holds relics of the Buddha or other holy figures, things like hair or teeth placed in a small box right at its core. It's a powerful, physical symbol of the Buddha's presence. And the Great Stupa at Sanchi? It was originally commissioned by Ashoka himself. It's a massive testament to his devotion, a huge project to preserve and honor the relics of the Buddha. The beautiful gateways you see today were added later, and they tell stories from the Buddha's life, making the whole thing a narrative carved in stone. So when we put all of this together, the strategist's playbook, the ambassador's diary, the emperor's own words, and his architectural legacy, what picture starts to emerge? We see the first true pan-Indian empire. I mean, the administrative reach of this empire was just vast. From the capital at Pataliputra, it was divided into these major provinces, each with its own capital, stretching from Takshila in the northwest all the way to Kalinga in the east. This was a massive, centrally controlled state, the likes of which had never been seen before in India. And unifying the subcontinent like this had huge advantages. It put a stop to the constant infighting between all the smaller kingdoms. It opened up extensive trade routes with other countries. It created a strong, unified defense against foreign invasion. And all of this led to widespread economic prosperity. And that leaves us with a truly fascinating paradox. The Mauryan Empire was built by the sword, by conquest under Chandragupta, yet it reached its absolute peak under his grandson, Ashoka, a man who renounced war in favor of a moral code. And that raises the one question that really defines their legacy. Can an empire built on force and conquest truly be governed by conscience? That is the great tension at the heart of the Mauryan Empire.